Georgia versus Auburn, or Auburn at Georgia this Saturday at 3:30. Georgia's homecoming. Is it sad that the Auburn is it sad that the Auburn game has literally become Georgia's homecoming game? You know, usually these teams schedule somebody like Georgia Southern or Kennesaw State for their homecoming game, a game that they know they're going to win. And Georgia has decided to make this year's homecoming game when Auburn comes to visit in Athens this Saturday at 3:30. The Barn coming down to Athens, Georgia. They've had a hard time there. Before I get into this video, which is going to be a preview and prediction video of the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Auburn Tigers this Saturday in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. If you're seeing this video on YouTube, I'll be posting this video to Facebook and YouTube. If you're seeing this on YouTube, you're watching the life of Dustin and Allison. This is mine and my wife's YouTube channel. We do vlogs all the time. I do videos all the time speaking on my faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Oh, that sun is bright. And I do these football videos. If you want to see more videos like this, I'm a diehard college football fan. I'm a diehard Georgia fan. I do game breakdowns and all type. We just do all types of videos. If you like college football videos and different vlogs and stuff like that, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get some more subscribers. The last time I looked, we were at 199 subscribers. We're about to break the 200 mark. So be our 200 subscriber and keep on subscribing after that. Tap the bell and hit all so you'll be notified of when we post new videos. And leave a comment. You know, at the end of these videos, I leave my final score prediction. And I want you to leave your score prediction. Tell me what you think, you know. Subscribe to the channel. But anyway, Georgia and Auburn, this is the Deep South's oldest rivalry. In the SEC, this is the game that has been played the longest. I looked up last night. It said that they have been playing this game since 1892. To put that into perspective for you, Georgia and Alabama didn't start playing until 1933. So that's 33 plus 8. That's what, 40 years? So basically 40 or so years there. I believe 41 years that Georgia was playing Auburn before Alabama and Georgia ever started playing. It's the oldest matchup in the SEC. It's one of the oldest matchups in the country, period. It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry. It's a big deal. You know, Auburn has been down for several years now, but over the course of history, this has been a fierce rivalry. Georgia has the upper hand. I didn't look up the all-time series record. I believe Georgia holds a pretty decent little gap over there over the all-time record over Auburn. Auburn has not beaten Georgia at home in Athens since 2005. And like I said, the last couple of years, Georgia has climbed their way to the very tip top of college football. And Auburn has not been doing so hot. Since Kirby got to Georgia, Kirby pretty much dominated Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn ended up, taking a buyout or whatever from Auburn, and then moved to Orlando, Florida, and now is living the dream. He's getting paid from Auburn, and he's getting paid to coach the UCF Knights. And so then from Gus Malzahn, Auburn moved on to Brian Harsin. They hired a coach from the West Coast who was the head coach at Boise State, and it was just an absolute disaster. It was an absolute failure. Brian Harsin was just in over his head. I don't want to get too deep into all this stuff because I'm just trying to make this a short little video here because it's going to be a short little game. It's not going to be much of a game. It should be over about midway through the first quarter. Georgia will probably go up 14-0 and send in the backups. Now, this is a trash talk video as well, and we won't forget the fierce rivalry between Georgia and Auburn and how much that we cannot stand them. Auburn, I hate Alabama and Florida a little more, but Auburn, maybe Georgia Tech, but Auburn is right up there. They're in the top 5 at least. But anyway, they act like one of the greatest rivalries in college football is the Iron Bowl. They act like Alabama and Auburn is one of the great. Let me tell you something. Alabama and Auburn both hate Georgia more than they hate each other. But anyway, Brian Harsin didn't work out, so they finally, and you know, when they made this hire, I really thought that they had made a grand slam hire. I really thought, you know, when they hired Hugh Freeze, despite, and I won't get into, you know, I'm just talking about strictly football here. I'm not going to get into all the off-field stuff. When they hired Hugh Freeze, I really, you know, me and my dad and my brother-in-law and a couple of my family members had hashed out the fact that, you know, Hugh Freeze this and Hugh Freeze that, but Hugh Freeze is a very, very good football coach, especially on the offensive side of the ball. He's an offensive mastermind. He's a quarterback guru. He's very, very good at scheming up game plans. He's just a good football coach. He's just a good schemer up of X's and O's, regardless of the person he is off the field, regardless of any of that other type of stuff. We always said that, you know, it's going to take Auburn a year or two, or maybe even 3, to get back to where they were under Gus Malzahn. But then when Hugh Freeze gets in there and gets a quarterback, you know, and we were especially talking about the age we live in with transfer portal, it won't take him long to get some players in that he could use. And, you know, then his first couple of years there, you know, they literally had half the squad that Georgia and Alabama had. But Hugh Freeze literally took Georgia and Alabama down to the wire several times there. Last year, Alabama had to have a miracle pass from basically midfield, a Hail Mary, if you will, to beat Auburn. And Georgia had to have a miracle. Oh, I wouldn't call it a miracle. We had to have a game-winning drive to beat Auburn in Jordan-Hare. And, you know, we kept talking about Hugh Freeze is going to be a problem. Hugh Freeze is going to be a problem. He's eventually going to get I mean, he was doing all this with, I can't think of the quarterback's name right now, because seems like they've had 2 or 3 quarterbacks here in the last year and a half. Whoever it was, I can see him right now. I know they've had Robbie Ashford and Peyton Thorne now, but they were taking Georgia and Bama down to the wire with what they had already. So we were thinking, you know, he's going to get a transfer quarterback in here in a minute, and it's going to be an issue. Well, this year he didn't take a quarterback out of the transfer portal, and from all we can tell, basically when you read the tea leaves, Hugh Freeze thought that there wasn't a quarterback. I mean, from what I took of it, it seemed like he thought that there wasn't a quarterback out there good enough to play on his team. And, you know, the expectations were a little bit higher for Auburn this year. You know, you're supposed to elevate. And it seemed like now Auburn is just stuck in the same old place they were when they got rid of Gus Malzahn. Like, under Brian Harsin, it's like, I was all worried about Hugh Freeze and how he's going to, you know, he could still turn things around if they're patient with him. But as of right now, it's a trash fire over there. Like they've done SWAT quarterbacks this year already. Hugh Freeze is like steadily throwing players under the bus. I mean, he comes on the post-game interviews and he basically says, "I'm calling the plays. The plays are there. We got to have some guys who can get the ball to the receivers and not turn the ball over." Basically throwing his players under the bus, and that's the quickest way to get your guys not wanting to play hard for you. That's the quickest way. You know, that's not a good thing. And for comparison's sake, Georgia just had a heartbreaking loss to Alabama. Yes, Georgia has lost to Alabama again. Okay, and now that we're 4 days removed from this, and I've calmed down a little bit about it, I'm still mending. But now that I've, for the majority, for the most part, healed from this loss, it's when you really look at it. I mean, in the videos that I made before the Alabama game, I said Georgia could win this game, or Alabama could win this game, and in the end, it really won't matter. It matters. I said that Georgia needed to win the game. They're 5-1 against Bama since Kirby took over. Georgia needed to win the football game, but they didn't. And I had said that Georgia could literally beat Alabama in the regular season, and then Alabama could beat us in the SEC championship game, and then we could play, and one of us beat each other in the national championship game or in the playoffs. Quite literally, when you look at it, guys, Georgia needed to win that game. Alabama jumped all over them. I mean, there's no excuses. Bama come out with a better game plan and jumped all over us and beat our brains in the first quarter. I mean, went up 28-0. And even the miraculous Georgia comeback, you know, it just wasn't enough. I mean, they did a great job of not quitting. I mean, a lot of teams in America would have gave up there. Georgia did not. They kept fighting, and they come all the way back and took the lead. with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. But history's history. Bama scored the touchdown. Georgia was driving to tie, and it didn't work out. But there's a long way to go here. Now when you look at it 4 or 5 days removed, we've got a long way to go here. And it's like my dad said, and a couple of the guys I watched said, and I know some of you might disagree with this or whatever. I really don't care. I've watched football for 5 weeks now. They could put Alabama, and they put Bama at 1 and Georgia at 5. That's already happened. But we were saying at the time, they could put Bama at 2, and they could put Georgia at 11, and it really doesn't matter, because that's the 2 best teams in the country, no doubt, hands down. I mean, no doubt, hands down. Georgia and Alabama are the top of the field, and they will be playing again. And I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, and really don't even know why. I don't even know where I was saying that to say something about Auburn, but I don't know where it got lost in the shuffle. But anyways, it's not been a pretty thing this year, and maybe this is where I was going. I'm not sure, but now Auburn is going to have to come in and play Georgia in Athens. And by the way, back to the Georgia-Alabama game. Don't you ever forget that we had to play that game in Tuscaloosa. That gets lost in the shuffle. That gets lost in the weeds. It's just, Bama beat Georgia again. Well, we had to come down to Tuscaloosa and play, and home field advantage is an enormous deal in the SEC. So don't forget that. Don't ever forget that Georgia came back from 28-0 on the road in Tuscaloosa and almost won the game. Moving forward, when they meet again, they'll be meeting probably most likely. Well, they will be meeting at a neutral site. Neither team will have an advantage, and I just don't see the next time they meet Bama going up 28-0. And even when they do, Georgia still comes back and almost wins the game, but they lost the game. Give credit to Bama. I'm just saying that when you go down 28-0 and come back like that, what's going to happen the next time you play and that doesn't happen? It's like I keep looking at this and I'm like, Georgia just keeps playing a terrible game against Alabama. We come out and we blow the doors off everyone, and then when we play Bama, it's like we play a terrible game. We play a terrible game, and to be honest with you, Bama plays their best game. Like we play like terrible, and they play like the Kansas City Chiefs, and we still almost beat them. I told my dad, I said, if we could just play a bad game against Alabama, we could beat them. If we just played a bad game, but we don't do that. We play a terrible game and still almost beat them. If Georgia would just get their act together just a little bit in that matchup, we could beat them, and we're going to beat them coming down the stretch here. It's like I said, we'll see who's holding the trophy in the end. But the reason I did say all that was to say that now Auburn now Auburn, the littlest of the brothers, is going to have to come in and face an angry Georgia coming off that heartbreaking loss to Alabama. And they're going to have to do it in Athens on Georgia's homecoming. Auburn, they got a really good running back. Kirby has already said in his mind he's one of the best backs in the league, in the country. Kirby has come out and said that when you watch Auburn, they're not having an offensive problem. I mean, this sounds crazy. They're not having a problem moving the ball. They're having a turnover problem. So Kirby has already said, if you go back and really watch the games, understand that Auburn is, what are they, 2-2 right now? Their record is not good, but they're a lot better team than their record shows. And I even believe that, they move the ball consistently, then they throw a turnover. They're just having a turnover problem. If they can get the turnover problem fixed, they could be dangerous, but they're not going to be dangerous this Saturday in Athens playing what is still probably the best team in the country. From top to bottom, coaching-wise, roster-wise, the Georgia Bulldogs. And it's not going to be good. Kirby can say all this and that about, well, they're moving the ball consistently. They're just having a turnover problem. Well, that's going to be a problem. And I foresee it continuing to be a problem in Athens when Auburn goes up against one of the best defenses in the country. The quarterbacks have not looked good. The O-line has not been very good. Like I said, they got some players. They got a really good wide receiver, and they got a really good running back, and they got it's the SEC. There's 300-pounders on the line of scrimmage. Anything can happen any week. Georgia is currently, well, the last time I looked, they were like a 24.5 point favorite. I mean, it's crazy to even think about. I mean, this used to be games like Georgia, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. You know, well, Tennessee's, you know, they've stepped up a lot lately. I'll leave Tennessee out of this for now. Georgia, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, games like that used to be like amazing nail-biting games. Like, it was a pick 'em. Like, and now you look up and they play. And Georgia, guys, Georgia is a 24-point favorite over Auburn. That's insane to me. Like, that blows my mind. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think it's enough. I don't think 24 is enough. That's a big number, but I think it's going to be more than that. Like I said, I don't know if I've done a good enough job breaking this game down or not, but basically, Georgia's coming off a heartbreaking loss, and Auburn is just steadily circling the toilet bowl here. And it's not going to be a good thing coming into Athens at 3:30. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a great football environment. You know, it might not be 100 degrees outside. It's just going to be a good college football Saturday. And I think Georgia's going to try to get back on track here, making a run. You know, Georgia's got Auburn at home this Saturday. Then they got Mississippi State at home the next Saturday. Then we go on the road and play Texas. Then a bye week. Then they have Florida. What I'm saying is, for Georgia and Alabama both, what I'm saying is, it's sad that this video is not about Georgia, Auburn. This video is about Alabama getting through the rest of their season and Georgia getting through the rest of their season on another crash course to face each other. And I think everybody in college football knows this. You know, after the game, I noticed that some of the Bama fans were, I mean, they were chirping a little bit, but they weren't chirping like usual. And it's just because Georgia knows and Alabama knows that they're going to face each other again. I was watching some of my Georgia guys break down the game and what happened and how we completely just played a terrible first quarter and got so behind the 8 ball it wasn't even funny. Even though they come back and took the lead, it was still too much to come back from, and it's still no excuse for what happened. One of the Georgia guys I was watching was literally saying, guys, I'm telling you right now that they're on a crash course to play again, that we still have everything in front of us, and Alabama definitely still has everything in front of them. And he said, I'm not saying this as like a moral victory or anything. I'm telling you that even if Georgia had won that game last Saturday, I'd be telling you the same thing right now, that nothing has changed, that these two teams are going to face again, and Alabama's liable to win that one, or Georgia's liable to win that one. It's sad that the Georgia-Auburn rivalry and video that I do here has now become a talk about when Georgia and Bama's going to play again. And maybe that'll go away in the coming weeks. You know, Bama's got to go play LSU and Tennessee and Missouri, and Georgia's got to play, like I said, Texas and Ole Miss and Florida. But we're going to see coming here down the stretch, this is going to be ugly this weekend. Like I said, I believe this weekend Georgia's going to try to get back on track here against Auburn. We're going to get back to being Georgia. I think we're going to do a lot of, you know, running the ball. I think we're going to run it right down Auburn's throat. I think we're going to get back to Georgia's offense. Georgia came out hot against Alabama, and I think like the first 7, 8, maybe even more than that plays were passing plays. We come out in full attack mode, and it just didn't work. And I think we're going to get back to maybe running the ball a little bit more. You know, a lot of fans who don't know what they're talking about. You know, another thing about that game, talking about fans who just have no clue what they're talking about. You know, everybody trashes Mike Bobo. Mike Bobo's, it's his fault. It's his fault. They just have pre-decided before the game starts that Mike Bobo is the issue. And no matter what happens, Mike Bobo, there are literally fans talking about Mike Bobo. Mike Bobo put up 519 yards against Alabama, and he managed to score 34 points while his offense turned the ball over 4 times. I don't know many offensive coordinators that could do that. And I don't know where I was going with that. But, everybody was, you know, the thing with Mike Bobo is everybody always says, he's so predictable. He runs the ball up the middle, like that's how football works. Like, guys, okay, ask him this next time. Say, okay, were they running a zone run? Were they running a zone? Was it a zone run? Were they running counter? Or were they running trap? Were they pinning and pulling? I mean, what was the play design? Would they just ran the ball up the middle? That's not how it works. That's not how it's coached. You think Mike Bobo's on the headset saying run the ball up the middle twice and then pass it on third? Anyway, everybody who don't know what you're talking, there's a lot of people who just don't know ball. There's a lot of people saying that Bama took their foot off the gas at the end of that game, even though they were still only playing one high safety. which means they were leaving the field open and saying, we don't think you can beat us through the air. And we almost did. But what I'm getting to is, the thing with Mike Bobo has always been, oh, Mike Bobo just runs the ball up the middle, and then passes it on 3rd and 7. And it's just so predictable. Well, everybody's been saying for the longest, Mike Bobo needs to pass the ball more, needs to be more aggressive. We got to attack. We got to push the ball down the field. Mike Bobo comes out against Alabama and literally does that. Second play call of the game. Carson Beck throws a 70-yard bomb down the sidelines to Arian Smith. Ball goes right through Arian Smith's hand. Dude just dropped the ball, and he knows that. He'll be the first one to tell you that. How many times did Mike Bobo dial up stuff through the middle? I mean, 30, 40-yard explosive plays that either Carson made a bad throw or the receiver just couldn't come down with it. The plays are there. But people always say Mike Bobo needs to throw the ball more. He needs to throw the ball more. He needs to throw the ball more. So then we literally do that. Bama goes up 28-0. And what are the fans saying? Well, we should have ran the ball more. We should have ran the ball. Really? You want to run the ball down 28-0 in Tuscaloosa and run some of that clock out? People were saying bench Carson Beck. Need to bring in Jaden Rashada or Gunnar Stockton. People were saying, I don't know why we're not playing our freshman running back. Guys, do you really think that if Kirby Smart thought that bringing in Gunnar Stockton or Jaden Rashada was going to help us win that game, that he wouldn't have done it? Do you really? If it wasn't for Carson Beck the whole team played bad. Okay, the whole team played bad. And that's a point I meant to make earlier that I don't know if I made. I didn't make that point. Yeah, that's one of the main points I wanted to make in this video. The whole team played bad, and if it wasn't for Carson Beck and Mike Bobo, we would have never came back and took the lead and almost won the game anyway. Like I said, this has become a continuation of the Georgia-Bama game video. That's just how bad Auburn is. I'll give you my final score prediction in a minute. But one of the things I wanted to say, and then I'll quit the video. While we got a visitor. I hope the Braves win tonight.
Oliver said, "Go Dogs."
Oliver said, "Go Dogs."
He is a Georgia fan.
His name is Mr. Weenie.
I got my Brave shirt on.
Tell him to subscribe.
Subscribe to our channel. Tap the bell so you can get notified when we upload a video. Dustin uploads more than our normal vlogs, but we vlog together too.
I want you to be a part of the end of this video, you and Wayne, see what y'all think about it. Because I'm about to give my final thought that I forgot to give earlier. Hugh Freeze is constantly, and this video has turned into a
trash talk.
It's well, not so much a trash talk. It's Auburn is so bad that it's hard to even trash talk. I mean, I feel bad for them. They hadn't beat Georgia in Athens since 2005. This video has turned into a continuation of Alabama, Georgia, and I didn't want it to end. I tried hard. I said I just want to talk about Georgia Auburn in this game, but it's just there's so much to hash out and to talk about that game. But anyways, back to Auburn here, and we'll end the video. I'm gonna give my score prediction. Hugh Freeze is constantly trashing his players, saying, I've got the plays drawn up, we got to get a quarterback that can get it to him. That's just not how it works. You can't do that. Like you have plenty of time to do that behind closed doors. You have plenty of time to do that in practice. You know, you don't go on national media and trash your players. That's how you get that's how you end up like the longest yard with the offensive line, letting them go back there.
I didn't know he did that. That's very dirty.
Now, turn the page around and Kirby Smart, they asked Kirby Smart, Kirby, what happened against Alabama? Why? They literally asked Kirby, Brooks Austin, a guy I watch a lot on YouTube. He literally asked Kirby, what do you do whenever the plays are there? In other words, what Hugh Freeze is saying, I'm calling the plays. Mike Bobo has got the plays dialed up. Like the pass to Arian Smith down the sidelines and the ball went through his hands. What do you tell the players there? What do you do when the plays are there to be made and the players are they're not executing the plays? When Kirby had all the opportunity in the world to say, hey, we're doing our job, they got to get better. Like Hugh Freeze is saying, what did Kirby say? I know you might not have seen this, but Kirby literally answered and said, we got to get better as coaches. We got to get better as players. We got to watch the film and see what went wrong and what we can do better. And this is the main thing. He said, we got to get better all together as an organization. Now that's a leader.
That's a leader.
Now that's a leader of men right there.
Kirby's got what it takes.
Kirby's got what it takes.
And we almost came back and won the thing. We might not have won. And the first half might not have been great.
Lose Alabama again.
The second half was. Y'all can't forget how much we came back and fought.
They ain't forgot. They won't forget down the stretch. And both of these teams know that we're on a crash course with each other. Said all that to say that Kirby's the man. Hugh Freeze is not. We got a squad. We're going to be ticked. They're going to be coming in like already knowing it's over. Georgia can just roll their helmets out on the field this ball game.
What's your prediction, if you had to say?
I'm just getting to that.
I want to know.
I think Auburn's going to have a really hard time finding the end zone. And I think Georgia's going to run it all over them and take play action shots. I'm going to say Georgia 38, Auburn 6.
Oh, I'm going to say Georgia 42, Auburn 7.
Wow.
Is that good?
That's pretty close to my prediction. I mean,
I just went a little bit different to give me and Dustin some competition.
y'all leave what y'all think in the comment section. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs!
We're going to see what happens down here down the stretch. We got a homecoming game against Auburn. I'm looking forward to 3:30 Saturday and getting this loss behind us.